Hello, good morning, and happy Wellness Wednesday. I hope that you're having a great week so far. It's beautiful here again in Vegas. The weather is just awesome. I just love this time of year. I am a girl who loves the heat, I won't lie, but I have to say that I'm enjoying it cooling off a little bit in the mornings, and then, it doesn't get really too hot later in the day, but it's still nice enough weather, sweater weather, and I love it. I just love this time of year. Good morning. Thank you for joining. So thank you so much for coming on today. I really, as I said, today is really a special day for me because I feel like with that whole term Wellness Wednesday, I love that because it gets people thinking about taking care of themselves. And part of that is your emotional piece. We often forget about that. We always think that taking care of ourselves means nutritionally, physically, but we forget about the emotional piece, which is super important. And as you can see from the title, I say master your emotions, you master your life. Because guess what? You have the power to change your story through how you master your emotions. And again, that in turn will change your life. Because what? It's essential for our emotional well-being to achieve self-awareness around our emotions so that we make better decisions on how we respond, the way that we show up, the things that we say and we do when we are triggered based on how we are feeling. Good morning. My name is Leslie Godet, and I'm an empowerment coach. I help my clients achieve self-awareness around their emotions so that they can handle their triggers, manage their emotions rather than the other way around, and get back to what's really important, which is living a positive life. Because again, achieving self-awareness means taking time to really getting to know who you are, if you're being open to change, because no matter what, change is inevitable. And I don't know about you, but I would rather accept change and allow it to happen rather than being forced for change to happen and being forced to accept it. And then I'm resentful of it. And also embracing that pivoting may be part of the process. In fact, it's a real part of the process, which I feel people oftentimes resist. Not only do we resist change, we're not happy about it, but then we resist having to pivot, changing our direction, going left instead of right. Because you never know, if you don't allow yourself to do that, you're not allowing yourself to be open to new possibilities, maybe new opportunities, maybe new connections with people that you never even saw coming. But because if you were allowing yourself to be openly embracing of change and allowing yourself to pivot, those things reveal themselves. And I'm telling you, it's like amazing. You have no idea what's waiting for you, but if you allow yourself to be open to that, the possibilities are limitless. So this week I've been talking to you about emotions, more particularly the internal versus the external, the internal stimuli versus the external stimuli. But before I get started on that, let me just take a minute again to explain what the cycle is, the trigger cycle. As you can see, I have this behind me, the trigger cycle. So what are triggers? Triggers are those things that make you show up emotionally, the things that you say and you do. So things that happen in your life, whether it's a trigger could be like the anniversary date of loss or trauma. It could be a scary news event. And we always know there's always bad news happening every single day. Something happens. And sometimes it will affect you directly or maybe indirectly, but you are affected by it. It could be the friction in your family. Now, we all shared space with family members for many years, shaping the way we think about other people, how we interact with other people, and sometimes those things can go with us into our adult life and how we show up emotionally based on that type of family friction when we grew up. But we also then maybe even still have family friction today. Maybe you're not talking to a sibling. Maybe you're not talking to a parent. I want to tell you something, time waits for no one. So if you are holding a grudge against somebody in your family, you may want to rethink that, because I'm getting off topic just a little bit for a reason, because you never know. As I said, time waits for no one, and you have no idea. Time is not promised to everybody. Like you just don't know when that time is going to come where that person may pass on, you may pass on, and you'll never get that opportunity to repair a relationship. Personal example, real quick. I had a falling out with one of my brothers and his wife. The family, really stupid thing. I won't even need to go into it, but I missed 8 years of my nephews growing up, their lives. So they were young and I missed out on 8 years stupidly on my own part. I didn't need to allow that to happen. So I'm just saying, holding a grudge, really not good for you. So again, then family friction. How about the ending of a relationship? It could be even just a friendship, not even romantic. It could be a friendship, falling out. Here's a big one, isolating yourself, not good. You do not allow yourself to be around other people. Maybe you're shy, but putting yourself out there, getting yourself away from isolating yourself so you don't get those emotions of when you get triggered and you do and say things that really are just not they're going to undermine your success in life. And finally, a couple last ones, financial problems. We are in the season of giving. So that can be a really big stress, overwhelmed as well, because you're overwhelmed with the time of year, knowing you've got the holiday commercials on the radio, on television, kids are asking for things, you have to go shopping because you feel that it's an obligation, and now you're trying to figure out, is it in my budget? How much is too much? How much is too little? What type of gifts? Is it good enough? I mean, that's overwhelming and stressful and anxious and all of those things. So those are some of the triggers. So what do triggers do? They fuel our emotions. So how we show up emotionally to when we are being triggered. Again, as I said, financial issues. We are in the season of giving. Thanksgiving here in the States is in a couple of weeks. And then Black Friday, the day after, a huge shopping day leading into Christmas. So again, the whole gift giving thing and how much do I spend? Is it in my budget? All of that stuff. So you're anxious and stressed out about it. And so again, that trigger is now fueling that emotion, and that emotion of being anxious, resentful, maybe even, overwhelmed, can now drive how you show up and respond, the things you say and the things that you do. I always say that I would rather you be mindful about this piece here, because that's what you can control, so that you no longer have to worry about going back to fix things. Because once we cool down, we've all been there. We've said and done things that we often regret later, because once we've cooled down and had time to think about it, we know we have to go back and fix it. And so that's just like, having one foot in the past always, because you're always looking over your shoulder, having to go back and fix things, never fully in the present, and being able to step into your future of what's next. So that's a little bit on the chart. So I'm going to change it out because, as I said, this week I've been talking to you about internal and external stimuli as it comes to our emotions. So real quick, growing up, you have experiences and you assign your emotions to those experiences. You give them meaning. So that's your internal stimuli based on personal experiences. And then as you are emotionally triggered, you could be triggered by something external, which then brings up something internally that you bring back as a feeling, maybe a reference. And now it could be influenced by people or places. How about your senses of smell, touch, hearing, maybe sound, so sound, yeah. So hearing something, seeing something can trigger you. So these two things can feed off each other, or you can just be maybe internally stimulated to emotionally show up one way, or externally. As again, it doesn't even have to be internal. Again, it could be just anything that happens, and you're just in a bad mood, and so you get you're triggered externally by something, and you show up badly. So I want to get to it, because today, as I said, master your emotions, you master your life, because you have the power to change your story. Meaning equals emotion, okay? And emotion equals your life. And that was something I got from listening to Tony Robbins today, because I thought, wow, what a great podcast he's got going. But he's got a thing for the next, I guess, the next month or so, he's got podcasts he's going to be putting on about 10 gifts. And one of them is our gift of our, the assignment of emotion, okay, the meaning to our emotions. So again, mastering your emotions, meaning we're getting meaning to our emotion, and mastering our life means that we can, because we are taking control of that, we can then have the emotion that we're giving the meaning to, equaling our life if it's positive. But if we give meaning, a powerful meaning to a negative emotion and assign it to an experience and file that away in our filing cabinet for future use to come out when we are triggered, that emotion is going to equal the type of life that we live. I said we give meaning and power to our emotions, and where we are living emotionally is where we live our life every single day. So if you are always triggered a certain way and you emotionally show up that way every single time, you are giving power. You're giving meaning and power to that emotion, and you're allowing that to lead you, to define you, to put you in that life, that place where you're going to live all the time. So I'm going to put some questions out there, and I'll put them in the notes after. But I want you to ask yourself these questions when you are going through something. Okay. So number one, is the situation life-changing? Okay. Is it really life-changing? Typically, like for example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, is that life-changing? Is it going to change your life? Define who you are? Is it going to change your life if you allow it to? In other words, the emotion, that person that you are, how's it going to affect me? How am I going to allow it to affect me? How about, am I going to allow it to affect me and define who I am for the rest of my life? You know, how I emotionally show up every time I get cut off in traffic. I'm always going to have this MO. I'm always going to chase that person down, honk the horn, flip the bird to them, yell obscenities, and get into that frame of mind. Is it meant to affect me and define me for the rest of my life? So ask yourself these questions. I'll put them in the comments after, but because this is what I want you to know. When you take all of that into consideration, especially the part of, is it meant to affect you and define you for the rest of your life? The things that happened or are happening are just happening. And it's just life showing up with a challenge, and you have control over whether or not you give meaning to that thing, right? Giving it a solid foundation to stick around, and then ultimately assigning a negative emotion to that experience and the meaning to that emotion, and allowing it to manage you, as I said, every single time you allow yourself to get into that space, that headspace, when you get challenged that way. Or maybe you decided, no, you realize that you can take control over that piece, which is the emotional piece, which you control. You can control your emotions, and you can say, yeah, not really. This thing, this event, this experience is not going to shape me. This will not affect me because I won't allow myself to give a powerful meaning to the emotion. You know, you're not going to give solid foundation for that negative emotion. And it's not going to affect me or define me for the rest of my life. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and this is my reality, right? You're not going to, because again, things happen to us. We go through a lot of things every single day. We go through this cycle. We traverse this cycle every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And if we assign a powerful meaning to every time we get emotionally triggered and file that away in our filing cabinet, that's going to define our life. That's going to define who we are showing up as every single day. I promise you that. That is going to define your life. So that's what you have to think about, because up until now, you have assigned meaning to your emotions based on your internal stimuli, right? Based on your experiences of your personal experiences through life, and you filed them away in your emotional filing cabinet for future use, because that's who we are. We are emotion driven. That's okay. Feelings, emotions are beautiful. They are. Don't get me wrong. Emotions are beautiful. It makes us who we are, but it doesn't have to define how we live our life. We don't have to let our emotions be in the driver's seat. We don't have to allow our emotions to open the passenger door for us to get in and let ourselves be driven around and just show up however we show up. No, we have control over that. We can say, no, I'm taking the wheel. It takes work, but you can do this. Again, mastering your emotions will help you to master your life. Master the meanings that you assign to your emotions. And don't allow your emotions to have power and define you. And you'll in turn learn to master how you show up emotionally when you get triggered. Okay, so don't give meaning, don't give a powerful meaning, a solid ground, a solid foundation for your emotion to stick around and be assigned to that. Road rage. Instead of when you get cut off, you've got to take back control and say, this is not going to define me. I'm not going to show up that way every day. Yes, we are assigning our emotions without knowing it. Yes, because that's who we are. We've shown up that way in our life our whole lives because we've never thought about it. So again, when something happens in your life that's similar to somehow an experience you've gone through, you typically will show up the same way emotionally because that's who you are. We've just allowed ourselves to go through that cycle every day the same way because that's just who we are. Because we've not allowed ourselves to take back that control. We've allowed ourselves to assign powerful meanings to our emotions and allowed that when we are triggered even internally through an experience, and we'll show up that way by saying and doing something because we in the moment feel justified to show up the way we do, to say the things that we do, and basically feel like, well, yeah, I showed up badly. I'll just go back and ask for forgiveness. It's okay. And that is okay after maybe a couple of times. Maybe you will get a pass. And you're most likely going to get a pass from those who have vested personal interests in your relationship, meaning your family, your friends, right? But when it comes to people you work with, they only have the interest to spending time with you in that set period of time every day. And if you show up badly the same way, that's your MO, those relationships are the ones that are really going to suffer because they're going to be harder for you to fix because they don't have that vested interest, unless of course you've taken those relationships outside of the office and have built friendships, but they don't have that vested interest to carry on that personal relationship with you. And in other words, they don't really care about you that way. They don't love you that way. They just show up every day and they work with you. But then if you can't fix those relationships, then you have a different situation to deal with, which is an uncomfortable work environment. So again, when you're giving a powerful meaning to a solid foundation to an emotion over something that you realize maybe is not meant to, nor will it shape or it's not meant to, nor will you allow it to shape your life and make you who you are, like who you show up as and who you are to become and the life you are to lead, you will learn that that's the piece you can control, you know, the emotional piece. You have control over that. But only if you are learning self-awareness around that, hey, this is how I typically show up. Now you're going to have to learn to strengthen that awareness muscle, the self-awareness muscle. I call it the self-awareness muscle. It's just a term I came up with, but I believe that because listen, you're going to still have those moments where you're going to show up badly, but when you show up badly and you're now self-aware, oh, I did it again, that's your self-awareness muscle starting to kick in. And the more that you do that, and the more that you can become self-aware around how you're emotionally showing up, is when you can then stop yourself and say, okay, typically my MO is this. I'm going to make a better decision today on how I show up emotionally and what I'm going to say and do. I'm not going to assign that old meaning. I'm going to flip it and assign a new meaning, meaning you're going to have a new habit of how you show up. So habits are important. Again, you learn to master that emotion through self-awareness of you emotionally showing up when you're triggered, so that when you give meaning to that event, that experience, that emotion that comes up, it might be for a fleeting second, you know, the old emotion, but you can take control over it and stop yourself through your self-awareness of you being triggered emotionally, and you can assign a different meaning, meaning that you can say, this is happening, this doesn't shape me or define me, nor is it who I'm going to be? And I choose to do this, whatever this new habit is, this new positive thing is, this new habit you're going to switch to. Because triggers as a whole and your own triggers are going to happen no matter what. And but when you achieve like self-awareness, as I said, it's going to happen no matter what. When you achieve self-awareness on how you typically show up emotionally and take back control over how you assign a meaning, you know, that meaning that you will assign to that emotion, how you're feeling, and to that experience, because how you're showing up, how you feel it to that experience, and you file it away to come back and define your day when you experience a similar trigger, you're more able to switch your habits around that piece. So instead of assigning that a powerful meaning, negative meaning, you're going to assign a powerful positive meaning. So you're not going to show up the way you typically did in the past because you're more self-aware of it, and you're going to allow yourself to make better decisions. Doing that is like, I'm telling you, you take back control of your emotions, you're going to master your life, and you're going to have the power to change the story. The story that you thought you're living right now, that is you're just going through life and it's how it is and that's it and that's the cards I've been dealt. No, when you have control over that piece, that emotional piece, through your self-awareness, you start assigning powerful meanings that are positive rather than negative to how you're feeling based around that trigger. And so you're able to go back into that, like that toolbox when you are emotionally triggered that way and pull that out. And that's how you're going to show up. And guess what? You are now no longer looking over your shoulder, having to go back, meaning having one foot in the past, to go back and fix those things because you've behaved badly. You have to go back and fix it. So now you're no longer really present because you're always one foot in the past, barely in the present, with no hope of even looking to the future of like, what's next for my life, because you're always looking over your shoulder. That's not what I want for you. I know that's not what you want for you, but it's really, how do you do that? And again, it's through self-awareness, but you have to want to do this for you. You have to want to do this for you. You want to have, and I believe to my core that everybody wakes up wanting to have the best day of their life. Everybody wants to have a good life. Everybody wants to show up positively. But just life happens and life is challenging you. And it's up to us to learn how to be mindful around how we emotionally show up so that we can flip it. We can assign a powerful meaning, a powerful positive meaning, put that in our toolbox, start filling this piece here, getting rid of the old, putting in the new way of how we'll show up, so that when we have internal triggers based on our past experiences, now in the toolbox we have great emotions. And when we are externally stimulated, emotionally, we have powerful tools in our toolbox to show up more positive. So then guess what? That puts you in the present, and you can live your life daily, and you can start thinking about what's next for me. So that's why I started my free Facebook group. And what you get with that is you have community of like-minded individuals who are saying, yes, that's what I want for me. So having self-awareness around how I typically show up emotionally so I can handle my triggers and manage my emotions. But you also, as I said, community being a big piece, is you're there to support, encourage, and uplift one another. And that's also why I'm there as well. You will also have accountability through some, as I call it, mental coursework, meaning that I will provide you with some real things that you can do to challenge yourself to see, okay, this is how I've typically shown up. This is how I would like to be, and I'm going to start becoming more mindful around that. And then, of course, monthly challenges. I'm actually in the middle of a challenge with my group because we are in the last 2 months of the year, which is all around Thanksgiving and Christmas. I called it the 14 Days of Giving. So if you are interested, you will see the link in the title notes to get access to the free Facebook group, and you will get access to all of those things. Last but not least, I go live every Thursday evening, Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. And I go do a live Q&A coaching session, meaning you get to come on live with me and ask me any question, whether you need a quick tip or a strategy, something that you're going through, or maybe someone that you know is going through something and you're just looking for that answer, or maybe even just like, how do I deal with this? Or what would you suggest? And I will help you to the best of my ability to get you on the right path. Because again, we all wake up wanting to live our best life. We all want positive lives. I don't think anyone wakes up saying, today I want to have a bad day. I don't think that's in anyone's vocabulary when they get up in the morning. They don't say, I want to navigate my day with an attitude, a very bad attitude. No, we don't wake up that way. We don't wake up wanting to be negative. We want positivity in our lives. So again, you have all of that that's free in the Facebook group. Click on the link if you are that person who wants that for themselves. Again, change your story, you change your life, meaning change how you typically show up emotionally to your triggers, and you'll take back control of how you manage your triggers and start living a life that you want to live. Plus, you start loving the life that you're living, changing your life for the better. So I hope this was helpful for you to hear today. I have a favor to ask. Help me help others by sharing my video so I can get this message out to those who really need to hear this message today. Because a lot of people, you know, again, we say that we know we are emotional, we know that we're emotion driven, and we know we show up, but we're not realizing that we actually have the ability to control our emotions. We've just been going through life, doing what we do, filing it away in our internal toolbox, all based on our experiences, and we pull out those experiences, those emotions when we are triggered. And again, these can feed off each other because you could be going through something internally and something external happens and whoop, it's out the door. You are like going from 0 to 100 because now you're being influenced by this and you're already going through this. So again, they can feed off each other. So I hope that this was helpful. Also, I have a freebie link in there to help kickstart your day on the right foot. So click on the freebie. I enjoy putting it together for you. Just a little something to get you feeling better about yourself. These are things that I do for me, and it's non-negotiable for me because I feel like when I put myself in the right mindset by taking care of me, my me time, then I feel like I can show up as the best version of me every day. And that's what I started to do so that I can show up for you. Remember to navigate your day with an attitude of gratitude, because with the right attitude, it puts you in the right mindset to go, you know, when you're going through something and you're going through this piece, right? So the triggers piece. This is the cycle. You're going to go through it no matter what. You can't talk yourself out of it. No one can take it over for you. You can't buy your way out of it, no matter who you are. This is something you're going to go through every single day. So it's just how you show up around this is up to you, all through your self-awareness. My name is Leslie Gaudette, and I'm an empowerment coach. I help my clients achieve self-awareness around their emotions so they can handle their triggers, manage their emotions, and live a more positive life. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.